where the wrestling truth resides.
Chris Van Vliet, yep, had Seth Rollins on the podcast, and they had a conversation of, like, he just covered certain things, and we're gonna get to the one with Punk because it's really heated with Punk. But he talks about this one with, let's start with his knee injury.
You weren't going to make it to WrestleMania 40?
No, there was really no. I just didn't know what shape I was going to be in by the time we got to WrestleMania.
How much pain were you in?
At that point, the pain wasn't so bad, but I had so the match with Jinder Mahal would have been in January, I want to say. I had basically torn, really sprained my MCL pretty bad and tore my meniscus. The meniscus tear was like a older tear that I think got displaced. And so I'd basically been wrestling on a torn meniscus for as long as I can remember, but I had a kind of a mechanism to sort it out. And whenever I kind of dislodged it, it put the meniscus into a different position in my knee. And I don't need to get into the anatomy of all of it, but basically it was really painful when I would do specific things. So I just had to be smart. So I took obviously rumble off, chamber off, but then I came back in a brace and I did some live events. I had wrestled Solo Sikoa on Monday as well, on one of the Mondays leading up to WrestleMania as well. Mostly because I just wanted to get a feel for it. I wanted to know what I could and couldn't do. And so, and I didn't want to wrestle with a brace at WrestleMania because I hate wrestling with a brace. And so I wasn't in a ton of pain only because I had gone through the pain the weeks leading up to it, kind of like trial runs. I was like, oh, let me test this out at these live events, and then let me test it out on TV. Let me see what's going to hurt me. Basically stab, stab, stab. Okay, now I know what not to do. Now
That's
I know
insane.
Now I know how to work around it.
Like a masochist.
A little bit, yeah. And then I just had booked the surgery for right after. I was like, let's just, I knew what the end game was at Mania. I'm like, let's just get through that. I want to help. I think I can be an integral part of this. So let's do that. And then I'll go get it fixed and take a little bit of time off.
But there's a shot at WrestleMania 40 where you kick and you land and it looks like your leg just bends the complete other way. And if you don't remember this, that's great.
Nothing at WrestleMania bothered me.
I remember that
really
fucking
good shape.
that video.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it did. It did look like his fucking knee completely snapped. Oh, it was so gross.
The knee was in really good shape at WrestleMania. Like I said, those trial runs leading up to it allowed me to know what I could and couldn't do. So when I got in the ring at WrestleMania, obviously I thought I gave it everything I had, and I hope that was good enough performance-wise. But it was also smart that I knew I wasn't going to re-injure the meniscus or do anything. And, consulting with my surgeons and doctors, and they were like, yeah, the thing's torn. You're not going to tear it anymore. We'll go in and clip it out later. And it'll be good.
Yeah. Craziness. I can't imagine being in that much pain. Be like, shit, I got this much fans behind me. I need to keep going.
Especially with just doing it.
Right.
All right, once this is done, then we can take care of it.
Right. Exactly. It's kind of the old school methods. Everybody's fucking hurt, but they're just, just trying to make it through until finally that time off. Just finally that where you can finally take care of it. So coming on to that, we listened to Cody talk about his injury on the Two Bears 1K podcast. This is Seth's take on the injury that Cody Rhodes had.
The first time you saw Cody Rhodes in his pec and the bruising there.
I saw it. He refused to not do the live events before Hell in a Cell because they told him that he couldn't hurt his pec anymore. Even though he was in horrific pain whenever he moved it in a certain direction, they were like, well, you can't tear it anymore. And he's like, well, I've been advertised for these live events, so I should probably be there, in Rockford and Bloomington, Illinois or something like that. And everyone was like, maybe just stay home. You can just come to the pay-per-view on Sunday. We're probably good. No, I got to be there. So he comes to these, maybe Bloomington or whatever was the first one. And I remember let me see this thing. And he pulls it open. And this was like 2 days after it happened, so it hadn't fully gotten crazy what you ended up seeing in Chicago at that Hell in a Cell match yet. But like it was gnarly, and I was like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, whatever. I'm not gonna tell you what to do, you know. I mean, we just talked earlier about how I wrestled with a torn meniscus for many, many months in a lot of pain. So I get it. I understand it. So as long as, you feel safe enough and you feel safe enough that you're going to be okay, we'll get through it. We'll figure it out. That's part of the gig.
It looks gnarly.
It was a gnarly.
Did it
peck.
give you any limitations in the match?
Sure. Yeah, sure. You couldn't, you had to be very careful with some things you did. And like, it wasn't like he was going to lift me up. Like he couldn't do anything like that, So, it takes away, he can fall down as long as he took care of himself. And, look, that's part of the art, almost every match we go into, somebody's got something tweaked. You know what I mean? So it's not like that's a new thing. Obviously, when it's that visible and it's something that's going to require surgery that's going to keep you out 6 months or longer, it's certainly more striking. But I mean, look, you wrestle, we just did this Christmas loop and I wrestled 4 days in a row. And, one of those days somebody's going to have a tweaked ankle or, my neck's not feeling great. Let's avoid this. So there's plenty of times where that's happened in my career. It's not a new thing to have to work around those types of things, but it's very jarring when it's that visual and that much pain. But it certainly adjusted what we had to do. In my opinion, took that match from, maybe good or memorable to, iconic. It's a moment in time.
But what a credit to both of you that with all those limitations, you still put on one of the best matches of the year.
Yeah, I mean, professionals, that's what you do. And we had an amazing story leading up to it. I do think that visual, that jarring visual certainly helps. It ups the danger, you're already in this cell, which is scary, and that is ominous. And then you've got this injury, and the people see it for the first time. So, the kind of goal is to suck people in to understanding this story and feeling and sympathizing with our good guy, with our hero. And we had that in folds. And so we were able to just tell a story around that, and it kind of made it in some ways a little easier. You had to get a little more creative, but I mean, we had this extra thing that you don't normally get, this thing that's completely real. People can see it, they can feel it, and then they appreciate what our hero is going through. So there's that bravery aspect that comes along with it. So it creates a very satisfying feeling on the back end of that thing when your hero has overcome so much. So I mean, he's great, and we worked well together, have great chemistry. So it felt like one of those nights where I was happy we got through it, and again, happy that he didn't have to, that he was unable to do any more damage to it,
Wow. Just crazy. Just, I think it's kind of funny too, like talking about like everything's tweaked, like in independence, everybody's fucking hurt. There's something that's fucked up with somebody, something's sore, somebody's fucking ankle's fucked, or somebody's hip isn't good.
Yeah, we're all banged up in some way, shape,
yeah,
or
we're
form.
all banged up, and when we're performing, and just try to tough it out for the fans, and for the promoter, and just going out there and try to have a banger of the match, and we'll cry about it afterwards.
Yeah, basically. There's no work no more.
Yeah, exactly. His comments about CM Punk. This is a pretty long clip, so we can pause it here and there, but this is his feeling about Punk.
Punk didn't get injured at the Rumble. What was your match at WrestleMania going to look like?
Yeah, well, you know what? That's a great question. It would have been Seth Rollins and CM Punk, I believe. But then you've got the Rock and his introduction into that story right after Royal Rumble or right before Royal Rumble. The timeline's all wacky to me, but he comes in and kind of didn't really understand the scope of what he was messing up. I don't think. And
taking a shot at
and so
Rock.
I don't know. I don't know what would have happened had Punk won the Rumble, or
just not got injured.
or not got injured. Yeah, I don't really know. You know, I don't know where Cody would have landed in all of that. I don't know where Roman. I don't know where there were just a lot of players, and somebody would have been on the outs. You know, I don't know who that would have been. I have no idea. So, I mean, all the stars were pointing towards CM Punk and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. But, you know, it's tough business and things get in the way.
But then we wouldn't have what we have now.
We would not have what we have now.
Seth Rollins, CM Punk, first Raw on Netflix. And man, these promos have been something else.
Yeah, they've been interesting. They've been interesting. I mean, it's just, these are promos. These are things that I've thought about saying publicly for a long time, and things I've wanted to say to his face for a long time and haven't been able to, or have said privately. You know, occasionally I would get asked about him over the years, and you would see some of it slip out. But most of the time I just never wanted to acknowledge his existence, because he was he really was just a cancer to my career for many years while he was gone. He an intentional one, you know what I mean? He was a parasite. He really just wanted to he seemed like every time he could take a pot shot at me or the company, he was trying to. And so I never wanted to give that credence, because I just kind of looked at him as like a troll. I'm like, I don't want to acknowledge these things, because then it looks like they matter, and they don't. But it did bother me internally, because, you know, we were trying, dude, that roster from he leaves in 2014, right? I think like we were hustling, dude. We were trying our damnedest, and we were given garbage a lot of the time. And
that was a very shitty roster at that point, because Cena, I think at that time was gone.
Was on SmackDown.
Oh, he was on SmackDown?
I think he's on SmackDown.
I think, depending on the time of the year, he was doing the. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was SmackDown.
But basically, all the big power guys were basically gone, and it was just a struggle of trying to keep people on top. That's why we had that shitty fucking them pushing for Roman, and then they pushing for Seth, and they were just terrible storylines and shit like that. So I can see like having shitty ideas and just still trying to stick it out, just because there's nobody else there but them at that time. So
we were making the best of it. And like, you know, he was in a position where he'd made a bunch of money and could just dip and go. And there wasn't an alternative. AEW didn't exist at the time. There was nowhere else to go. Like, what are we going to do? Just pack up and leave because CM Punk's feelings were hurt? Because that's what he wanted from guys. He didn't want people who were his friends to stay and work for the company, because he felt like it was like some sort of betrayal to him. And I'm like, dude, A, this is my dream job. B, this is how I earn a living. And like, I'm trying to get to your level. Like, I don't have the luxury to just quit. I can't go anywhere else and get paid this kind of money. Like, my career, I don't get to work till I'm 60 either, you know? So it was one of the most selfish things I'd ever seen out of a human, like leaving the way he did, and then kind of like expecting other people to follow him, and then like taking shots at the place from a distance when he wouldn't even explain to his friends like why he was so resistant to continuing that friendship. Like, I never got an answer out of it.
Were you friends up to that point?
Yes. Like, we were friends till he left, you know, and we had a mentor-mentee kind of relationship, you know, at that point, because I was a lot younger. So like, I didn't push. I sent him some texts and called him like after he left, but I wasn't like comfortable enough with him to like, because we were peers, but you know, he was here and I was here. So I didn't want to like push that envelope. So after a while, I just let it go. And then even over the years, I reached out to him a couple of times to try to like engage and just see where he was at, and if he was interested in coming back. And nothing, no response, except whenever he would get a chance, he would just talk as much crap as he could. And so, yeah, I had all of this stuff bottled up for 10 years to finally be able to get out there on a microphone and say it. And it's probably not even articulated the best it can, but there's just so much real, I mean, hatred's a strong word, but it's as close to hatred as you can get. Like
Animosity?
resentment, animosity, like just anger, you know? I mean, it's really palpable. I think, you know, the reason people attach to the promos is because they can see that there is, you know, real emotion behind them for me. And so I'll be, it's a very cathartic experience for me. I'll be happy to kind of just like get that physicality out on the 6th and hopefully be done with it.
Did you ever think CM Punk would come back to WWE?
You know, when he joined the broadcast team on Fox, when they were doing that backstage show, I think it was, I thought to myself, okay, maybe there's an opportunity here. And then when he joined AEW, I kind of thought, you know, maybe he'll have like a Twilight run here. But there were then a lot of times where I just thought, you know, because it wasn't like, you know, I know he makes it out like he didn't really like the other guy that was in charge. But the truth is he didn't really get along with the current guy that's in charge either. You know, that wasn't like they were pals as well. So I think that even when Triple H took over, you know, I didn't think there'd be an olive branch to be had. You know, so kind of 50-50, but I would waver more towards no, I never thought it was going to happen.
And you weren't told he was going to come back at Survivor Series?
No. No,
As you can tell.
Surprise.
You didn't look very happy.
You know what I wasn't happy about was, you know, Randy had just come back from a long hiatus. That was his moment. It was a great moment. I mean, the reaction for him when he came through the curtain was unreal. And you know, we went out there, there was 10 of us out there, and we went out there and had a hell of a contest. And like, just didn't really need him, you know, didn't really need him, but you know, it's Chicago, it's his city. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's the most classic, make everything about me CM Punk moment I've ever seen. And so, I'm like, you know, when you're in that moment, your adrenaline just going through the roof. You know, you're just on the top of a cage celebrating with your pals and like, you know, sold out Allstate Arena going bananas. And then like that happens and it's no longer about the performance. It's no longer about Randy. It's no longer about, you know, what you had done to get to that point. It's just, hi guys, it's about me. Remember, I'm the guy that you miss. Remember me, guys? So, yeah, you know, just another kind of, you throw that on the pile of disgusting CM Punk moments. But don't worry, he's not selfish. He's in it for, you know, helping everybody else.
Yeah, that's grumpiness.
Yeah, that's some hatred. That's some hatred right there. But yeah, like, I don't know. I couldn't. I'm the kind of guy that kind of like, I don't try to have things bother me. I'm just like, fuck it. Well, just let it go. But I can understand like having that moment at War Games and then feeling like it got stomped on by, this guy's back. This piece of shit. Like,
his reaction was very genuine.
Oh, his reaction was 100% genuine. He was pissed. Yes.
He was pissed.
But being adults, they're taking this and making money out of it.
Right.
So,
from a business aspect.
Exactly. Something that should have been done in AEW, but we won't go there.